Hello there, I'm back. Now, today I want to tell you about what the UN is saying. According to the United Nations, they claim that about 7 million Congolese people have been displaced, and that this whole crisis, they are calling it a crisis, is unprecedented. That the people there are so many, they have overwhelmed the WFP, the World Food Program. They have overwhelmed the United Nations High Commission for Refugees there. It's just a catastrophe. That's what they are saying. 7 million. Now, let me tell you something you have to understand. 7 million is so big number, right? Think of Congo Brazzaville. You know Congo Brazzaville, the other Congo? It doesn't have 7 million people. Maybe they have 7 million today, right? The last I checked, were about 6 point something. Think of a country like Gabon with their 2 million people. They just got to 2 million people. They get to 7 million in the next 15 or 20 years. And they are a huge country. That's how huge 7 million is. You just have to visualize it. It's just a huge... 7 million is a country. It's a whole country all over the place, right? South Sudan, the new country in Africa, is yet to get to 7 million people. Now, imagine now the whole of South Sudan has been displaced and pushed into refugee camps near the city of Goma. That is what we are talking about, and that is what is happening there in North Kivu, and everyone is just pretending that they can't see it, because you know what, those are not our people. We are not related to those people, and those people are Bantus. Bantus eat chimpanzees. We are not related to them. That's what people think. Most of the time, people ignore the plight of Africans. These 7 million people, a lot of them are educated young people like you. They are people with hopes and dreams, right? So 7 million people are now living in camps like this. I'm trying to pull this image. Let me try to use this tech of, the image. You can see the photo. Now, this is the new camp that has sprung up a little bit north of Goma, near the territory of Nyanzare. So Nyanzare is a town that was recently taken by these M23 rebels. And remember, the M23 rebels are actually Rwandan troops, because a lot of them, they even admit it on TikTok and other places, they still have service ID numbers, service numbers in the Rwandan Defense Force. So they are Rwandan troops. And look, I've heard stories that some Congolese Tutsis left Masisi and went to Rwanda. According to the UN report, there are about 74,000 there in Rwanda, or at the time. And then what happened is that their sons could have been enlisted in the Rwandan army with the promise that they be given guns and arms to go back to Congo and take back that territory. Now, you also have to remember, it wasn't the Congolese government that chased them away. It was Rwanda that lured them to leave those territories to go to Rwanda in 1994, 1998, those times, to form a purely Tutsi country in Rwanda. So they had a plan of exterminating the Hutus in Rwanda, which never worked. They tried to kill some of them, but they reached a point where they stopped. And most Tutsis actually left Burundi, they left Uganda, they left Tanzania, they left Congo to go to Rwanda, because that was their promised land. Just like the guys in Israel. We usually see them leaving Europe, Poland, those countries, they go to Israel to displace the Palestinians. So that is what was supposed to happen in Rwanda. But then along the way, Paul Kagame betrayed them. But then later he promised their sons to join his army, to use them as mercenaries in Mozambique and Central African Republic and other regions where he deploys his army for money. And then after that, he promised them to give them guns and send them to Congo. So that's why they are there, and they are Rwandan troops. Maybe with some of them originate from Masisi, which is in Congo, but that's the situation. And they have sophisticated weapons, including anti-aircraft, missile system to shoot down jets and planes and everything. But now the question is, would you still be a Congolese citizen if you are a soldier of a neighboring country that is actually the enemy of Congo? That is a question that lawyers should go to the comment section below and tell me. If you join a country, like if you are to basically fight for Russia, but you still claim that you are Ukrainian, would that citizenship still hold? Now, that is something I don't know. But now that is what is happening. Rwanda has created a situation where 7 million innocent farmers have been displaced, and they live in more than 22 camps like this one. The main ones being near the city of Goma, where we have the South African Development Community troops based to make sure they protect these camps. Those ones in Goma have probably close to 5 million of these internally displaced people, or the refugees, and so on. And the president of Rwanda has agreed that, and it was yesterday, he agreed to meet with the president of Congo, and so that they can discuss about that conflict. And it's all over the place. You may have come across it before this video, but now we also have to agree that the world and the international community and the regional leaders who have pushed these two leaders to meet and talk have identified that the conflict in Congo is not about rebels. So let's stop talking about M23 rebels. It has nothing to do with rebels. This conflict is about two countries that are fighting. One is trying to use proxy kind of war to attack another. And they've identified that the people who are really issuing the orders or pulling the trigger are Paul Kagame and definitely Felix Tshisekedi. Tshisekedi is justified to do what he's doing because he's defending his country, his people. If you attack me, I have to defend myself. That is what happens. Paul Kagame is the aggressor here. So they are telling the aggressor to meet with the person he's attacking to negotiate. And he has agreed. The aggressor has agreed. So the other step is, what will they talk about? Now, I know Paul Kagame is going to talk about that Congo is arming this group called FDLR, right? Yeah, I think it's a French acronym for Forces Démocratiques Libération du Rwanda, something like that. Basically, the Liberation Forces of Rwanda, something like that. That's what FDLR stands for. And these are Hutus, mostly, and some of them are said to have been soldiers in the previous government in 1994, the same government that had been put under the United Nations arms embargo. They didn't have enough bullets to last a week. They didn't have mortars. So when they were invaded by these rebels, the RPF led by Paul Kagame, armed by Uganda with heavy weapons, artillery, mortars, and millions of bullets, supplied to the Ugandan government by the Americans. These guys felt useless in front of such an invading force. They felt frustrated, and they turned around and looked for the tribe or the people from the community of these attacking rebels and took revenge on them. That's what we call the genocide. So Paul Kagame is saying some of these FDLR could be those troops, and they're saying Congo is arming them. Now the question is Congo arming them so that they can attack Rwanda? That is a very good question a lot of people have asked, because for the past 20 years there's no single instance, proven and verified instance, of this FDLR ever crossing the border and attacking a single person inside Rwanda. Of course, back in 2005, there was those fake attacks by Rwanda. Mostly the government there would fake up attacks, mostly done by the Rwandan police. And after killing innocent civilians, they would call journalists and report those attacks as if they were from elements of the FDLR. So they were using those mostly to also use it as a political operation way, because they would link those attacks to certain political figures inside Rwanda, and then they would go ahead and arrest those people. So those were fake attacks. They used those fake attacks to jail the lady called Ingabire. But the FDLR themselves, they said that those were not them. They said we never made those attacks. We were not even 1,000 kilometers closer to that point. So we don't know what you're talking about. So their spokesperson said at the time. So the fact of the matter is, these FDLR, even though if they exist, that is, they've never attacked Rwanda. So if Congo is arming them, which I doubt they are doing, they are not arming them to invade Rwanda, but to defend themselves. Because Rwanda is sending their troops to Congo and calling them M23. And once inside Congo, they're just looking for people of the Hutu tribe. Because look, it's hard to identify someone as FDLR, because if they are not in uniform and they are not carrying guns, how would you tell this civilian from another? It's hard. So the only way they are doing it is that they capture people, and once they identify that these are Hutus, they just say these are FDLR. They go ahead and kill them, even though most of them are innocent farmers in Congo. I want to show you a certain image of a certain image I saw on a Rwandan website in Rwanda. Now, before I show you that image, let me just show you the map of Rwanda first. From this image, you can see that's how Rwanda looks like. That is the map of Rwanda. And the provinces are there. They have since renamed them to English, because previously there's those old maps that you find they have provinces with different names. So today they have Eastern Province, they have the North Province, they have Kigali as a province, South Province, and the Western Province, which is where you have the border with Congo. And I think the capital is Cyangugu or Gisenyi. I think it's Gisenyi, something like that. But then there's this other image that actually has been circulating in Rwanda. Now the image there is from a government blog in Rwanda, and it says that in 1885, before I think the Germans came to this territory from the Tanzanian side, or maybe before, I think that is the Germans, before the colonizers, that Rwanda used to look like that. Now the dark line are the current borders of Rwanda, but the colored part is what they claim was the initial Rwanda. Don't forget, before these colonizers, Africa was a borderless continent. Of course, different communities claimed different parts as their own, but not the whole region, right? There were no beacons and GPS coordinates and borders demarcating territories from another. So by coming up with this map, they want to tell us that in Rwanda, they were so advanced at the time, they used to have beacons and GPS locations and demarcations. And they used to have border control and custom control, and people would not cross over to their territory. That's what they want to tell us, which is not true. From what I've read before is that there used to be two kings in that territory. One of them was in Mutara, near Uganda, mostly in the region of north of Rwanda and south of Uganda, Mbarara region there. And Mutara was a territory with the Tutsi, and there was a Tutsi king there. Then in the south of Rwanda, past Nyanza, a town used to be called Nyanza, in that region of, I think, Gisenyi, not Gisenyi, but Cyangugu, I think. There used to be another king, and that is the great-grandfather of the other king who died some few years back, called Kigeri. Kigeri was, I think, the one who was the last king of Rwanda, who died, I think, a year or two ago, was called King Kigeli V. So his father might have been King Kigeli IV, and before that maybe King Kigeli III, something like that. So there used to be those kings, and they were located in the south, and I think those were the ones that also controlled Burundi. So there were those kings, but those kings were Tutsi kings, and their subjects were mostly the Tutsi people around them. And that's why you will find now two kings who are actually, I think, cousins of brothers in the same territory, one in Mutara and the other king in the south. So the kings used to control, they were like chiefs, they were big chiefs, like senior chiefs of territories, and they would control a territory the size of a smaller division, with the subject within that division being their subject and paying taxes to the king, and in return the king would hear the disputes between them like a judge, and also help them with their security, because the king used to have a standby army of warriors carrying the spears, right? And those warriors would be paid by the king from the taxes paid by the subjects. So that's how it was. But the king didn't have a huge army of, let's say, 100,000 soldiers to control a territory like the whole of Rwanda. No. So they have this map. They are trying to justify why they need to steal North Kivu from Congo. And let me tell you, some people in Rwanda actually believe this map. And that is where the danger is. That actually in 2024, some people believe it. And they believe that this is a real map that used to exist. And that in 1885 in Africa, people used to have papers and they used to keep maps. So people believe it, and that is the real danger. Imagine the young people who believe it, and tomorrow they are, enlisted in Kagame's army. They will go to Congo thinking that they are going to liberate their own territory. So that is the danger.